Okay, before the clock starts kicking, let me start. Namaste. Welcome to day 2 of Western Ghats Literature Festival. Yesterday was a rocking day, so the responsibility is on us to make this day even better. And I am really, really glad to be hosting this discussion with my friend and veteran journalist Abhijit Majumder on his latest book, India's New Right. I have to say, I haven't enjoyed a book so much in recent months as this one. And it's not just because I am featured in it. I'm being honest. The book is written in an extremely engaging and witty style, and not only that, it chronicles the stories of many of us who speak for the nation, who speak for Dharma, who speak for Dev and Desh. And for me, at least, I know almost everybody who's featured in this book. So it was not like reading a book, it was like reading a college yearbook. Like these are all old friends, and I'm reading their CVs, and what they're doing and what they've achieved. So it was very, very enjoyable. In this book, he chronicles, and this has not been done before, the rise of, for the lack of a better word, and he explains it in the foreword, new right. India does not have right and left in the sense that America has right and left. This is actually the non left. Anybody who has nothing in common with the old set of left liberals and who have suddenly found a voice now in the post liberalization India, post social media India. That is the uh, that is the class of public intellectual thinkers that Abhijit is talking about. And what I found extremely interesting in the book is that he had chronicled the journey of veteran warriors like Dr. Meenakshi Jain and David Frohley to the young 20 something YouTubers. And that is what, for the lack of a better word, I mean, I'm going to use new right, but I'm putting a disclaimer here. It is called new right simply because we don't have a popular word in our own idiom describing this. In fact, he has talked about it in the foreword. So, Abhijit, my first question to you is that why did you choose new right? Why did you not say non left? You have a logic behind it, right?
Yeah, because hello. Yeah. So you shouldn't define something by what it is not. Non-left uh, really doesn't sort of define it not as right if you take it in the Western sense. But who said that West has a monopoly over right, left, south, east, west? It doesn't. We can define our right in our way, just as a particular faith doesn't have monopoly over the color green.
True. Very
It
true.
is as Indian, as dharmic as any other color. Right, I think that way it gives us a word that almost everybody recognizes as what is not left. But India's right is very, very different from the Western right, the Western conservative movement. In India, for instance, we do not believe in absolute laissez-faire economy. As part of the right, we have we never had a problem with LGBTQ. We did not even need those tags, which the Western right or conservatives have a huge problem with. The great debate that's going on in America about abortion, etc. India has long back, it's the prerogative of the mother, the choice of the mother. If, till a certain time, if her life is in danger, or if the child's life is in danger, he or she can terminate it. There are several, I mean, these are just a few, several points where we disagree with we do not actually, our views don't match with the Western right, but we are the Indian right in our own right.
Fair enough. Another important point that you make in your forward is the rise of Narendra Modi and how, in many ways, it coincides with the meteoric rise of the new right, so to speak. And it is like a chicken or egg thing. I mean, was Modi a result of the new right nationalist movement, or did the new right nationalist movement, the Bharatiya New Right rationalist movement, get a fillip because of Modi is a very important question. I want you to talk about it. But before that, I want to read an important paragraph from your forward, which to me is basically the crux of what Modi ji has been trying to do in the last 10 years. You say that Modi ji steers his actions along the path of Sri Aurobindo and Swami Vivekananda, who believed that Atma Vismriti or self amnesia leads to Atma Ninda or self abuse, Atma Hinata or low self esteem, and destroys Atma Vishwas or self confidence, which we have all seen in the last 70 years. And finally, we have got a leader who is not afraid to show to the world that he is unabashedly Hindu, and shows it in his actions, he shows it in his attire, he shows it in the gifts that he gives to the world leaders, he shows it in following the Navratri Upavas for 9 nights while he is in the US, in even the smallest of the actions. So, could you talk a little bit about what is the relationship between Modi ji and the rise of Bharat's new right?
A lot of people say, especially those on the left, that Modi has brought this kind of times upon us. I do not think that is true. Exactly the reverse, I think, is true. The times have thrown up Modi. India was coming out of, this whole first of all, years, almost 1,000 years of invasions, colonial slavery, etc. Then another 60, 70 years of that colonial continuity in education, in bureaucracy, everywhere. And then there was endemic corruption. There was dynastic rule, rewarding dynasty or your surname over merit. But I would say, after liberalization happened, and India started finding its feet economically, started, getting that confidence. I remember somebody had said that India is the only nation with the talent of a developed country and the economy of an underdeveloped one. But when the economy started sort of finding its feet, people started doing well. Of course, we have tremendous talent. So the nation was restless to break through this kind of this wall of corruption, nepotism, etc. Everything that the Congress symbolized. Congress and its allies, and that whole fake secularism, the tremendous hypocrisy, basically a veiled attack on Hinduness, the glue that binds this land, in the camouflage of secularism. So Narendra Modi was that. India found that person in Narendra Modi. The clean, confident, audacious, most importantly, somebody who, as you said, was decolonizing. Every action, by his smallest of actions, he tries to decolonize our mind. So India was looking for that kind of a thing. There's one other thing I would say. When we talk about nationalism, how Modi has changed it, and the new rise of the new right has changed it. See, before this, when we talked about nationalism, for instance, in popular culture, in Bollywood, we would either have a Manoj Kumar in Upkar singing Desh Ki Dharti, otherwise Gandhian, soft power, etc. Or we have a We have a bellowing Sani Paji, Sani Dal in borders taking on Pakistan. Uh, or there was, this Rang De Basanti, where, a group of youngsters choose anarchy to kill a politician, etc. Now, in all these stereotypes, the nationalist was outside the political, was a political outsider. He or she was not part of the political system. After this movement, you know, people would be ashamed of politics, or, politicians used to be the villain in everything. Now, after Modi, I think that notion of nationalism has changed. You know that now the fantasy, your patriotic fantasy, your nationalistic fantasy of the individual, of the society, includes being working from inside the system.
Yes.
Or many of us just spend a lot of time on, technology, on social media, etc. We are very much part inside the political process in that sense. So, in many ways, Modi has actually made all of us political insiders without shame, because that the politics that we know has changed.
You know, that without shame part is very important. I was on a panel discussion with some of the leading journalists, and this was post 22nd January, and they were saying that the greatest change that they have seen, and these are English language journalists, okay? So before this, anything, and Ram Janmabhoomi movement has been going on for quite some time, but it was mainly covered by the Hindi papers or the regional papers, whereas English media was like, it's down market. It's a movement for a temple. Why should we cover it? But on 22nd January, and I was there, and on the banks of Sharayu, there was every single English newspaper and English channel camped there, from NDTV, 2 times now, to Republic, to whoever, and of course there were representative channels of everywhere, and they were 24/7, they were covering the Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha, which is a huge change. So that change is somewhere, it trickles down from the top to bottom. But now,
Or
having
bottom to top.
or bottom to top, it's open for debate. But my question to you is, see, there has been a very old establishment, very well entrenched in all the institutions, in all the media, all these years, 70 years, right? They've had a very symbiotic relationship with the Congress. So, like Vivek Agnihotri says in the movie, कि system हमारा है, लोग तुम्हारे हैं, whatever, the exact quote eludes me. So, what do you think has been the reaction of that old elite towards the rise of this, belligerent, confident, assertive new right?
I think one of the it's been very angry. It's been a very angry reaction. It's been a condescension to, to the point of being, violent sometimes. Violent, not just physical violence, but just getting this book published. For instance, first Penguin asked me, which are the left voices that you will have in your book? I said, the book is about India's new right. Why do you need left voices to know about about India's new right? So then they said, no, but we need some kind of a balance. I said, do you ask this to leftist authors who are writing about the left? Which right voices do you have in your book? So they had no answer to that, but they didn't publish it. Then Bloomsbury took it up. Bloomsbury paid me an advance, whatever peanut, but that they, after a couple of years of me working on this, they actually they withdrew it. I mean, they called me to say that, Abhijit ji, we cannot do justice to your book. we are sorry. They didn't even ask for the advance. Uh, but it was ridiculous to sort of drop the book because by that time William Dalrymple and others were putting tremendous pressure on Bloomsbury from London, from UK, to sort of stop all the non-left publications in India. They even brought in a new editor-in-chief here. Yeah, and then these titles were being dropped. Then Inc. immediately approached me, and this was done. So that, and it, so many things. I mean, where do I stop? I mean, last few years have been a classic journey for me. I mean, amazing journey for me as a journalist, as an editor. I was then the youngest national editor of any daily. I was the editor of Midday. Then I was editor of Hindustan Times, Delhi NCR edition. Before that, Indore, Bhopal editions, and then Mail Today. So I was in English media. I was in Hindustan Times working for a Congress MP, Congress-backed MP's paper, and I would tweet what I would. I mean, this was much before 2014. After that, a lot of people have suddenly become, very dharmic, right-leaning. But this was so I was doing it, and every day people would say कि अभिजीत तेरा तो नौकरी जाएगा बॉस कल जाएगा Malik will call and ask you to go for some reason. She didn't, but what happened is that in course of it, I became the only journalist against whom a chief minister actually sent a official letter to the owner of the newspaper to sack the editor, which was me.
Okay, can anybody
The-
guess? This is a quiz question. Who is the chief minister?
Nah,
No.
Kejriwal.
Yes.
On the chief minister's letterhead. So, yeah, one of the first ones. Arun Puri came and showed it to me. What do you keep tweeting or writing? Abhijit, this is a nuisance. I said, yeah, AP, I mean, it's okay, let's handle this. So then, of course, Congress out of the blue, completely innocuous article sent me somebody woke up in Congress and they sent me a legal notice for that piece, which, I mean, Congresses themselves could not find an offending para in that. I just said that Rahul is not is an outsider in this Indian scheme of things. He doesn't understand India. He sees it from a very different perspective. So there was a legal this thing. Then one day I get up in the morning and there's a call from CNN News 18, of which I'm a consulting editor apart from my own startup. So there was a call and this guy said that Abhijit, there are four cops from Chennai waiting, looking for you in the office, in the Noida office, headquarters. I said, why? He said, no, they've come to arrest you, I think. So, please be careful. Then I sort of spoke to Sai Deepak. Sai said, Dada, I'm sending you a lawyer's number. He's good. Just speak to him and please don't be at home. So I checked into a hotel in Noida. Just got out of my house with a bag and checked into a hotel some 2-3 kilometers away. Okay. And by then, just imagine the state of things in India that, I think from the PMO, Yogi ji's cops, police came to know about it, and they actually post, so that I'm not sort of
Just taken,
unceremoniously, without being told, taken away. There were two, two Hawaldars posted under that hotel. I mean, in front of the hotel. I said, what is this? In the same nation, a set of cops have come to arrest me. Set of cops are tracking me. Another set of cops are tracking that set of cops. What is this cat and mouse we have reduced? So this is what happens. So that this thing. Then, of course, I think last month when this doctor's thing was at its peak, agitation in Bengal. Suddenly, I can't make any calls from my phone, nor receive any calls. Number has been blocked. So then I called Airtel. Airtel said, and I also recorded the call. Airtel said, sir, this phone has been blocked because there was a there was a complaint from Kolkata police that there is some fraud activity going on in this thing. I said, fraud activity? What do you mean? How can you block a citizen's number without even telling him? He said, no, sir, there are provisions in whatever. So then next day, I was functioning without a phone, mobile, which is just unthinkable now. So the next day, I called up this thing, telecom minister, texted him. He said, okay, we are looking into it, Abhijit. Then they said, no, there is a provision, so this might take some time, etc. But by then, media had started making a lot of noise. In Bengal, YouTubers were putting out this story with my recording, my chat with Airtel, and saying, what is this? I mean, Bengal, there are some really, really brave bloggers. I mean, they do it at the risk of their life and limb. They could just be, including a couple of Muslim bloggers who are, tremendously resisting Mamata in this thing. One in Arambagh, I'm forgetting the name. Anyway, so all this pressure, suddenly Airtel sends me a message that we are happy to restore your connection, your line and whatever. I said, yeah, I mean, this is what kind of a law you have made that anybody is. So this is what happens when an establishment of so many years, decades, and an idea of so many centuries, I would say, inimical to Hindu Dharma, Hinduism, when that meets suddenly with a extremely powerful force, which is why I say that this moment that the book captures or tries to capture is an extremely powerful moment in our history. It doesn't, probably because we are in it, we still grudge, अरे यार ये नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं हुआ, ठीक है कश्मीर अभी तक पीओके नहीं आया, अक्साई चीन अभी चाइना के साथ है तो आ जाना चाहिए, 10 साल तो हो गया. So all these things we may say, but the point is that 10 years there has been extraordinary change.
Yeah, the Overton window has definitely shifted.
Completely
Majorly.
shifted.
Yes.
So that's...
So you know something, we are all battle-scarred veterans. I mean, you've heard his travails. So I'll just share a quick anecdote. I used to write a satire called Zinat Se Swapna in Marathi. And this was about Aurangzeb, the last days of Aurangzeb. It was not about Aurangzeb. It was about a politician in Maharashtra. You can guess which politician. So this series was very popular suddenly, and it started getting quoted everywhere. And I started getting threats from the followers of the said politician. So they said, you will go to jail, we'll break your bones, we'll break your legs. And somebody called me also and said, आपकी कितकी चिटले कर देंगे, आपको जेल में डाल देंगे. I said, but on what charges? I am writing on Aurangzeb. You know, the emperor last Mughal emperor who died in Nagar in whatever, last days of the 17th century. So they said, who are you fooling? You think we are stupid? We don't know who Aurangzeb is? And they actually said that. So I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I said, in that case, you do one thing. You please file a FIR. And in that FIR, you mention that this is Aurangzeb and he is getting insulted. So that is why we want to file an FIR. Anyway, baad mein to it didn't happen. But the fact I'm telling you is that the left, tries to give out the image that they're very tolerant, they're very understanding of the opposing voices. But let me tell you, the tolerant leftist is like Santa Claus or Superman. Doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist.
Abhijit, we want to know, I'm curious as a Tamilian, as to why Tamil Nadu police was said to.
No, because I wrote against Udayanidhi
Udayanidhi.
Stalin's, this whole
That's
Sanatana
Sanatana Dharma.
And also, no, but that did, although Udayanidhi Stalin's guys filed the FIR, what they tried to nail me on was insult to Periyar. I had referenced everything. So every single thing is, a relationship with his foster daughter, etc., etc. Everything was referenced. His ideological, complete, schizoid, this thing. But the court made me just drop one phrase. He was an intellectual thug. So
I think the court objected to the word intellectual.
so good one. So he said, so the headline, etc., nothing was changed. Not a thing was changed except that they said that no, Abhijit should. I had to come to Chennai. So they basically make the process the punishment.
Yeah.
Such cases cannot stand the scrutiny of law. I mean, however woke our judiciary may be, they just don't have the wherewithal to punish you for, writing a column on, and not, which doesn't even invite violence on, which criticizes somebody. I mean, everybody is open to being criticized.
But that is something that the left doesn't understand. I remember a businessman in Tamil Nadu was arrested because he made a tweet in Tamil about Manipur. General innocuous observation in Tamil. And they arrested him on the charge saying that he is going to disturb peace in Manipur. Who from Manipur is going to read a Tamil tweet? But no, there is no logic. Anyway, coming back to your book, I like the way you structured your book in areas. You talk about the voices in history and rewriting history. You also talk about voices which are influencing the new economic policy of Bharat. And Sanjeev Sanyal has the distinction of being featured in both, in history as well as in economics. So
hey, you have read the book.
Of course I've read the book.
Quite
I
well,
always read the
quite
books.
closely. I can tell.
See, he's used to the leftist interviewers, They don't read the book. They just read a review and they ask questions. I actually read the book. Even Vikram Sampath said the same thing, that you've read my book. Yes, I do. But anyway, so what is, I would like you to talk a little bit about the voices in history and what is the need to rewrite and reclaim history and why these voices are coming up. They're coming up very organically, actually.
Yeah, I mean, finally, when the hunted lion gets a life back, it'll want to write its story, no? The hunter has always written history. Now the lion has to write its own story, its own history. So part of this is the revival, this book really, and the movement that it tries to capture, is the revival of a continuity. Although this moment is unique, amazing, everything is fine, but there has always been a continuity of resilience of Hindu Dharma. It is an amazing place where, which has survived the onslaught of Abrahamical religions and not converted. We have lost 2 limbs, 1 ear, 2 years. That's all. I mean, that's really bad. But we have survived. That is because there's a continuity in our resilience to preserve the swa. Swa not in the Western sense of the individual, but the collective sense of this civilization. Swadharma, Swasiksha, uh, everything that that belongs to us, and people have gone to we are actually not even sacrificing anything major. If you look at how how millions of Indians have been slaughtered, millions of Indians have been slaughtered to preserve the Swat. They would not convert. Why were they killed? If they were willingly converting, why would what 150 million or something people are
86.
estimated,
86.
86
86
million
million.
people? Why would they be killed? And they're still being killed. But they didn't this thing. They preserved the swab, which is why it is very important to write our own story, our own way. And in a way, this is the chloroform is much stronger now, because earlier invaders would come, show you the sword
Yeah.
and kill you. Now the sword is not just physical, it's in the invisible, in, decades of terrible education, the most weaponized education, against one nation is, it started with the 1835
Yeah,
English
Macaulay,
Education
yeah.
Act.
Yeah.
Macaulay's, I mean, what a remarkable piece of evil genius that was.
Yeah.
Remarkable that it's like the dead men firing missiles of Soviet Union that made these missiles, where even if the entire population is dead, you know, missiles would still keep flying towards the US. It's, the British have left
Yes.
something like that in India, and which is why, I mean, everything. I mean, it used to be so uncool. It's used to be so uncool to be Indian, to wear kurta, to wear sari, to be this thing, to wear tilak. So, which is why it is very important to, every day struggle, strive to sort of decolonize, tell our story, whichever, and we shouldn't we shouldn't sort of boycott certain platforms there because they're leftist. Claim that space also.
That is a
We
very
have our
important point.
space,
Yeah.
but if you get to write a piece in the Wire or speak at the Jaipur Literary Festival, go and do it. It's every space must be reclaimed.
Very, very well made point. Before I move on to the audience questions, I will ask you one last question. Another interesting chapter, two interesting chapters actually in your book. One are about the non-Hindu voices which are talking for nationalism, which I found very, very interesting. And second is the work that the Swayamsevaks are doing. Not enough is being said about that. So I would like you to talk a little bit about these two.
Very quickly, I mean, I have traveled a fair bit for this book, uh, which is why I say the advance, etc., a pittance if you're writing. Because, for instance, I traveled to Northeast, and the work that is going on, that, for instance, Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram is doing in Manipur, Meghalaya, or other, or Sangh by itself, quietly in the remotest of villages, where people have, the entire church has sort of come back to the indigenous fold. They have, what is the reward? Nobody
Nothing.
is even going to sort of give them a certificate or call them and say, wonderful work, boss. It's just their work. I mean, in Rajasthan, in Kerala, in Bengal, the young boys and girls, the kind of courage with which they work in absolute jihadi hotspots. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's one of the takeaways. So there are prominent faces in this book, like Shefali, like a lot of people, Anand Naganathan, Sanjeev, Anupam Kher, Sai Deepak, all these people, Abhijit Mitra. But it also has the faceless people working in remotest, very dangerous corners, and just doing they just get up, take a bag, go out, keep meeting people in village after village after village. Acha, what has happened to your grandmother? Okay, how is she now? She had the operation. Nothing. It's not propagation of anything. Ki come, join RSS, be a Hindu. There is that nothing. Just संवाद लेना आपका that's what they do. And about the minorities, a very strong with this whole thing, the new surge in nationalism, a lot of minority voices are you can see. I mean, in this book you have Amana, you have Arshia. By the way, a lot of them are women because probably they bear the worst brunt of those societies. Sinu Joseph is featured here, but otherwise also Umar Ghazi, Khalid Beg, lot of people are coming out saying things so boldly. Shefali just said that the Overton window has changed. It has indeed changed, and it was remarkable speaking to them. Uh, they are so knowledgeable. They are also so aware of what is happening in the world of Islam. For instance, in that Saudi is allowing research into whether even Muhammad existed was news to me.
Yeah, it's really remarkable.
So, uh,
So I've got 5 minutes left, and I'm sure there are a lot of questions, but please stick to questions. Do not make observations. If you want to speak to him, you can always meet him outside the sessions. And the book, I don't know, Ritvik was trying to get the book.
No,
I don't know if it'll reach or not.
book-
Maybe it'll reach today evening,
no,
I don't know.
I don't think it will reach, or even if it reaches, it doesn't make sense. So what I'll do is, I'll just leave this copy at the counter. You can, they said that they will help with the pre-bookings of the thing and deliver that wherever, whoever is buying it, deliver it free, free of cost to that. So, I'll.
Do
it's-
order, do go through the book, and do read the book, gift the book, as always. And now, please ask your questions. Yes.
Yeah, morning. I have basically two questions. One is, one is, one is in your opinion, what is the single most important factor that is keeping Hindus divided? And the second question is, to decolonize the mindset of Indians, shouldn't the officials and all the officers do away with the coat, suit, boot culture?
Of course, also the lawyers, they look like crows in summer. I mean, there's no reason to wear that dress in the harsh Indian summer. No, so your first question was what keeps us divided, right? Yeah, yeah. I think one of the reasons is that we have been numbed to believe that we don't have enemies outside. So we find enemies inside, within. We have been numb to believe that this Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb and everything, and Christ is kind and compassionate, and so we do not have this sense of Shatru Bodh. हमें अभी तक आया नहीं है. In spite of losing Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, everything, we still have been so badly brainwashed that we do not realize what we are like that frog in hot water, where the temperature of the water is rising, but the frog doesn't realize. Even as we speak, large parts of our demography are in serious danger. We do not realize that. That is one. Also, I think we need somebody like it's the whole unity of Bharat is coded in the name Bharat and the story of Bharat. Bharat was a clan some 5,000, 6,000 years ago, where which had a war of what is 10 kings across this thing. Yeah. They lived on the banks of Saraswati. This tribe, they had this war. They defeated all the 10 tribes. Then they defeated one more on the east, on the banks of Yamuna. But what happened next was amazing, remarkable, because the Bharat tribe then called all those defeated tribes, and instead of imposing their religion, their beliefs, their ways of life, said, why don't you contribute to a common pool, which then became the basis of Vedas, your gods, your rituals, your ways of life. So this is something this is what Bharat is. I think uh, thousands of years ago, people, that Bharat clan had the wisdom to realize that what Yogi ji is saying now, batenge to katenge. So that, that is something, it's quoted in the name itself. We just have to remember that.
I'll take a last question
Yeah,
from.
okay. If, in theory, if a left libtard government was to come in 2029, do you think this new right will get suppressed in the way you were intimidated, or do you think it's got a life of its own now?
It's got a life of its own. I think a lot of it is irreversible. And I am 100% certain that the mistakes uh, that that government or that political disposition will make, will actually make the movement stronger. Uh, that will make us stronger. They will, and they're bound to make mistakes just to be different from their enemy. And that's a great, that will be a great thing for the movement. I'm not saying that they should come. They should, if you're in power long enough, things change automatically. A lot of things fall into place. So we shouldn't. But even if that happens, I don't think we should be too bothered about that.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you, Abhijit. This was a very, very interesting discussion. And thank you, audience. You've been great as always.